Welcome back. As we've explored the theme of witnessing the risen Christ this month, we've looked at the experiences of Mary at the tomb, the disciples on the road to Emmaus, as well as Peter's conversation with Christ by the sea. They all experienced Christ after his resurrection and before his ascension. In this week's session, we will discuss how Jesus' resurrection can still be felt today, thousands of years later, and our responsibility as witnesses. Consider the small group session earlier this month about Mary. At the tomb, Jesus was with her, but said to her, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God." In his resurrected body, the divinity of Christ became apparent. For this reason, physical contact was not necessary to be close to him. The omnipresent character of God made it possible that he would always be with his own. This was a momentous point for Mary. She not only saw and recognized the risen Christ, she was called to become a witness of him to others. We too can be such witnesses. Though none of us was physically present to see the risen Christ, we have experienced his divine presence again and again in our lives. Do our encounters with him have an impact on us? Do we change and live differently because of them? Do we, like Mary, share the miraculous effect of these encounters with others? Let's go back to our Bible accounts and look at what happened in the time between Jesus' resurrection and ascension. The book of Acts documents that before Jesus' ascension, he commanded the disciples to stay in Jerusalem and wait for the promise of the Father, explaining that John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. Jesus then went on to say, "You shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth." With that, Jesus ascended into heaven, and the disciples returned to Jerusalem as he instructed them to do. While in Jerusalem, the disciples chose Matthias to replace Judas. Other than that, there isn't much written about the time between Ascension Day and Pentecost. The sending of the Holy Spirit on Pentecost fulfilled Jesus' promise to send the Helper and Comforter. However, the Holy Spirit was not only sent to give comfort. Jesus explained to his disciples before his ascension that there is power with the Holy Spirit that they would need in order to be witnesses to him in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. What they saw was Jesus' life, death, and especially his resurrection. Over the course of history, many people have lived and died. Jesus even raised a couple of people from the dead, but they eventually died again. No one but Jesus has conquered sin and death. This is the glory of the resurrection on Easter Sunday. The fundamental calling of all apostles, from those who personally witnessed the risen Christ to those of today, is to preach this, that Jesus Christ died and arose from the dead for our salvation. We do not want to simply view the resurrection as a historical event and keep it in the past. Nor should we simply view it as a foreshadowing of our own resurrection someday in the future. The resurrection of Jesus Christ has implications for our lives today. Author Brennan Manning explains it this way: becoming aware of the risen Christ in the present is a process of acknowledging him more and more, both in the small, mundane routines of life and in the big, life-changing moments. In so doing, we become fuller, deeper, richer disciples of Christ. Being aware of Christ's resurrection should be a living realization that although Jesus may not be physically near us, he is always with us. Another life-changing encounter can be seen with Apostle Paul. When we are first introduced to him in Acts, he is a Pharisee who is persecuting the Christians and exhausting his energy trying to snuff out the start of the Christian church. In the midst of that activity, he had an encounter with Jesus that changed his life forever. He turned from being a persecutor to being a witness of the resurrected Christ. Paul's faith in the resurrection was not only based on the testimony of others, but also on his own experiences, as he expressed to the Philippians, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection. As we approach the celebration of Pentecost, think of what this day truly means for us. God's purpose at Pentecost was to equip his church with the mighty power of the Holy Spirit so that we could be his witnesses to all nations and ultimately bring glory to him. Witnessing Christ not only means seeing his presence in our lives, but also being a witness of him to others in every aspect of our lives, from how we interact with those around us to how we spend our time and money. More than eloquence or book smarts, living a life that is a witness of Christ requires courage. It is nice to know how many books are in the Bible or that Jesus was 33 years old when he died. But what truly fulfills our responsibility as those who have witnessed Christ and have been filled with the power of the Holy Spirit is to share with others in word and action how our lives continue to change as we experience Jesus. Let us do this not only at Pentecost, but in every day of our lives.